and we will get started. So I understand that you're a little bit limited in time today. We're going to keep this to 30 minutes. The focus certainly will be LockDown Browser. And if we do have a few minutes, we'll walk through the StudyMate application as well. Just as a quick reminder, LockDown Browser is bundled with the StudyMate Campus application. So it's part of what you would receive both for the trial as well as a licensed application should you choose to move forward. But we will start with LockDown Browser. And most importantly, LockDown Browser is a custom browser. It is an application that is installed in addition to any other browser. In your environment using Chromebooks, it is going to be used as a kiosk app. It is engineered to lock down the students while they're taking their assessments within the framework of Canvas. It does integrate seamlessly with Canvas. And when your students are using the application, they will be prevented from engaging in activities that would allow them to copy, print, or paste any content. They will not be able to use any programs that would allow for screen capture capability during an assessment, and they will not be able to travel to other websites while they are taking assessments. There are some exceptions to the rule, and certainly we'll cover that as we walk through the assessment itself and how to add the requirements for the application. It is very important to understand that they will not be able to access any other application during the assessment, so they won't be able to open up a different instant messenger or another browser during the session either. Now, typically when we walk through presentations, we cover the instructor perspective in terms of how you add the requirement for LockDown Browser to your assessments. Then we talk about the student side and how they take their assessments. And then I spend a little bit of time in the administrator area and walk through where your resources are managed and where they are available to you. So we'll cover those areas today as well. Now, you're using the Canvas Learning Management System, so very important from an instructor perspective to understand that instructors are applying the availability of LockDown Browser on a case-by-case basis for their assessments. So they have complete flexibility in how often they choose to use the requirement. It is an LTI integration, very simple to set up with Canvas. But certainly I'm going to take you into, at this point, the instructor view. We'll close a few tabs. If you bear with me just a moment. Now I'm going to open my instance of Canvas. So I'm just logging in with my instructor level credentials. And the course that I have faculty rights to is Geography 101. And because my LTI integration has already been set up, I simply click on the LockDown Browser link. And it's worth noting that StudyMate is also an LTI integration. So you can see here in my instance, I also have the StudyMate link here. So we'll start with LockDown Browser. And this will take you to what we refer to as our welcome screen. Now, when walking through the welcome screen, you have video tutorials that are available to your team. So they're split into increments, or the videos themselves are topic specific, and they're in increments of roughly 3 to 5 minutes. So there's an introductory level video. It walks you through an introduction of LockDown Browser within the learning management system, and everything is Canvas specific here. Now, this next option walks through how to prepare a quiz for use with LockDown Browser, and there's also a really nice student overview video here. The Getting Started tab walks through videos, links to videos. Also, this is probably one of my favorite pieces. There's information here that's pre-built that instructors can use. They can customize it. It's syllabus information, and it's just a way to communicate to the student what LockDown Browser is. And it also includes here this URL. In your instance, using Managed Chromebooks, you're not going to be using this, but if you have areas where you are installing, say, in a Windows environment or a Mac environment, perhaps maybe in a library or some sort of testing area, if you have managed devices, this is a link here for your institution. That's the BYOD version. There's also general information here in terms of resources. So if you have teachers that would prefer to use a quick start guide, static documentation, something they can print and leave next to their desk, there's information here. And then once your teachers have walked through their, excuse me, their training information, they can continue on to the LockDown Browser dashboard. Now, in my particular instance here at Canvas, I also have access to this last column, which is Respondus Monitor. That's our companion webcam application. It's not something that's typically turned on in K-12. So for your purposes, once the dashboard and integration have been set up, you'll have two columns that are visible to you, the quizzes column and the LockDown browser column. So my first step is to identify the quiz that I plan to work with. So I'm actually going to take a look at this week 1 quiz. We'll close the requirements first. The first step is to select the option for settings. And when you're using LockDown Browser with a Chromebook, you simply add the requirement for LockDown Browser, and you also have access to 2 items in the advanced settings. You can either take advantage of what we refer to as early exits, or you can lock the student into the browser till the exam is complete. I do recommend, in a classroom environment, locking the student into the browser. And then the other option that's available to you is the use of the calculator on the toolbar. So if you would prefer to use either a standard calculator or a scientific calculator, that can be added here as well. Now, once those 2 requirements are selected, then it's just a matter of saving the quiz. Once you select Save and Close, you can see under the column for LockDown Browser for week 1 geography quiz, you can see it's showing up in green as required, and it's also added the title decoration, requires Respondus LockDown Browser. So from a teacher perspective, it's a fairly simple process. It's just really a matter of navigating into the link, then navigating through the welcome screen, and then adding 2 requirements for LockDown Browser, and then saving them. Very important that the teacher come back and just check into that LockDown Browser column to make sure that it shows up as required. And it's also worth mentioning that once this title decoration has been added, it should not be altered, because that would also break the integration. So you want to make sure that teachers don't change the title once the requirement's been added. Are there any questions for me in terms of adding the requirement and saving it?
I'm good.
Nope. This looks pretty self-explanatory so far.
Pretty simple application to work with.
Mm-hmm.
So the next step at this point, just even from a student experience, when the students are using the Chromebook, once the Chromebook integration has been applied, students are accessing the kiosk app from the apps area in the bottom left-hand corner. The very first time the student uses the Chromebook, they will need to type in the name of the institution, but then from that point forward, they are selecting the name of your institution from a drop-down. Once the student navigates to their quiz and they open their quiz, this is the view that they would have. It will open up the quiz full screen. You'll notice in the top left-hand corner, the student can't navigate backwards or forwards. They have a limited toolbar available to them. The only piece that's actually missing in this toolbar, that is a little bit different from how I set the assessment up, would be the use of the calculator, because that would show up as an icon here in the image of a calculator. You'll notice the middle of the screen, there's no web URL address field. Also in the top right, if the student were to click on that X, they would be provided with a dialog box that tells them they have to complete the quiz before they can leave it. Bottom right, bottom left, there's no system application tray. So there's no way for them to access any other application during the assessment. And also the use of their combination keystrokes are disabled, in addition to the right mouse click menu. So at this point, the only thing they could really do at this point is to complete the assessment. It's very important to understand that from a faculty perspective, we do not alter the way you set up your assessments. So if you're using things like time testing, randomization of questions, all those features will still be available to the faculty member. It's not going to change their experience when they're using LockDown Browser. This is just a larger view of that quiz itself, the stripped out toolbar. No web URL address field. Once the student submits their exam is complete. They simply exit from the kiosk mode and restart their device. And that's it. Very, very simple application to work with.
Anna, what if, and this may be at Canvas level, if 2 teachers both have quizzes that are ready to go, is there a way to limit them as far as time? If my period 4 teacher has a quiz and my period 8 teacher has a quiz, and the student goes in there and he accidentally goes in there and starts the period 8 quiz, he's locked into it now. even though he should be taking the period 4 quiz.
Right. That's really more of a Canvas question, but what I would say is you're probably working with different availability times for those particular assessments. So it's really more how you set those windows for those assessments.
Okay, so it's basically a Windows. The teachers will have to be vigilant on start and stop times for their testing.
Right. Absolutely.
Okay.
No.
Any other questions before I move forward?
I did see on one, when I was researching a little bit last night, that if a student tries to log in on his home Chromebook, that they will get an error message saying they can't take the quiz because they're not using Respondus.
Right, that's correct. And interestingly enough, in fact, let me just go, the experience would be pretty similar, and let me just, and I'm using a Windows device here.
Yes.
If you can bear with me one moment.
Take your time.
This is what it would look like on the Windows device. So it's prompting me and letting me know I have a couple of applications open that it will not let me take my assessment until I close them. So it's asking me to shut down my Skype. Usually I'm running something like TeamViewer. I could be running something like Trillian. It would make me shut down those applications as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just going to log in with my student level account. Actually, I should have done this a different way. Sorry about that. We'll do it with Chrome. And my user interface looks a little bit different because I'm logged in as a student. So it's just a matter of navigating to my quizzes. And you can see here that this has the requirement, the week 1 geography quiz for LockDown browser. And this is what the student would see.
Okay, great.
So it will not allow the student access to the assessment unless they have the browser installed properly. Now, in terms of the administrative area, have you received the email with your login credentials as yet?
Have I? No.
Something that probably will be in your box by either the end of the day today or by midday tomorrow.
Okay.
We did submit the paperwork to the office for processing, but once the paperwork has been processed, you will be receiving an email that will provide you with login credentials for what we refer to as the Respondus admin area. Now, when you're on our website, and we'll go here, there's a customer login area in the top right-hand corner. And every institution has its own set of user credentials. I have one for every LMS. We'll go here, we'll try the other one. And I'm sorry, we keep updating our passwords, so it may just be something a little bit different. This one. Okay. So this admin area will allow you access to the product areas that are available to you. So during the pilot phase, you'll have access to LockDown browser and StudyMate Campus. Inside this area, you'll have access to administrative guides. The control panel is where you're setting up the server profile. And that just simply is the pointer. So in my instance, I already have a server profile set up. But just in your instance, you're creating a new one. But this is the view that you would have.
Okay.
And you're filling in a couple of quick fields here to create that pointer. I did mention that with Canvas, there is that LTI integration that you're going to be completing. I'm happy to follow up and send you an email. I'll actually send you a JPEG image of exactly what your Canvas rep needs to enable within your instance. and we'll send that along for you so you can take a look at that.
Okay. Just to let you know, my laptop for some reason is not charging and it's about ready to die.
Okay.
So you may have to switch it or.
Sure. No, not a problem at all. But this is typically, really the most important thing about this area here. The guide is in the environment for you. There's going to be a Chromebook-specific guide that's available to you for LockDown Browser. If you require any of the other installation files, the student installation files for BYOD devices, and there's also a lab edition for Microsoft, excuse me, a lab edition available for Windows and Mac devices if you're using that, say, in a testing center or some type of a library situation. You have access to training videos and information here as well. And I do recommend that when you're working with a pilot that you visit support.respondus.com. And on this site, there's an area under News that allows you to sign up to receive email alerts for any product updates. So I do always recommend that you sign up for those email alerts because that's the best way to keep apprised of any updates that we have coming.
Okay, sounds good. We're in the process of switching out our computers here.
Okay. Take your time. Let me know when you're ready, and we will continue.
If you want to just keep talking, there's not a ton that we need to see. You can keep talking then.
Okay, absolutely. So definitely this is going to be in your recording that you have. But from a LockDown Browser perspective, most important thing to communicate to your teachers would be that when your students are using the application, it's going to prevent them from engaging activities that will allow them to Google, instant message, or access any other application. And it will definitely help to maintain the integrity of that exam content. Always remember, when you're using LockDown Browser correctly, students can't print, they can't copy those exam questions either. So the goal really is to maintain that standard of integrity. Also, a very nice byproduct of the application is that it will help to increase the completion rates of your online assessment, and really more because the student doesn't have an alternative. Once they start the assessment, the only way they can leave the assessment is to submit it for grading. The goal in total is to build that instructor-level confidence in their online testing, just to make them more comfortable with the application. Now, I know from an interest perspective, LockDown Browser was your focus. I'm happy to cover StudyMate Campus if you have the time, but I certainly leave that at your discretion if this is something you choose to revisit at a later time. Thoughts? Allison, we'll give the team just a couple of quick minutes to get logged into their new device.
There we go.
Hi, Allison. Hey, Mick.
Hey, I'm back. Thanks. Sorry about that.
No problem at all. Did you want me to cover, pretty much I'm wrapping up on the LockDown Browser side. The one thing that I would leave you with, just in terms of from the teacher perspective, is I think it's very important to provide a practice test before the student sits for a live assessment when using this application. Really, the primary goal here is to make sure the student feels comfortable taking the assessment and that the device has been set up properly. So if you give a practice test and you're using this LockDown Browser application, this will give you an opportunity for the student to walk through it once, either in a low stakes or no stakes type of situation before they sit for that live assessment, and they'll feel comfortable that it's been set up properly.
Okay.
Now, that's really the bulk of what I would cover for LockDown Browser, but I wasn't quite sure. I know you have a sort of time constraint. You're trying to get a lot done this week. Did you want me to cover StudyMate Campus, or do you want me to table that for a later time?
If you have the time, we can, brush over it now.
Sure.
No, I definitely have the time. So
Okay.
The nice StudyMate Campus application, it is a completely different application from LockDown Browser. What I particularly like about it is I have personal experience with it. It's one of these applications that it allows instructors to create learning activities, self-assessments, and games from their course content. For many, it reminds them of something like Quizlet, but the biggest benefit to using this application is that it drives all the learning back through your learning management system, which you've already made a significant investment in. So I love the fact that you're leveraging what you already have. It does have a very seamless integration with Canvas, and it's something that's designed for both your students and instructors to take advantage of, really by virtue of the fact that they have their own login credentials to your environment. The best thing from a faculty perspective is that there are no external websites. You're not creating accounts or usernames for your students elsewhere. Students, by virtue of the fact that they have those login credentials, will be able to access this information in anything that the instructor makes available to them. A lot of the terminology within the application is very similar to how students use their technology. So this idea of sharing content, this idea of duplicating content, how they would work with it. There's a mobile app available for StudyMate Campus. So once these projects have been made available to the students, they can even use it on their Android devices. They can use it on their iPhones. So there's a lot of flexibility in how they can work with this content. So I do want to take you into our instance of Canvas and show you exactly what it looks like. But also important, and we'll certainly touch on this when we walk into Canvas, instructors have access to student usage information, which is really important, I think, just in terms of when you're pushing out these types of activities to see, are students using the projects? How many times have they visited them? So there's a lot of information that you'll be able to see in your instance. So I'm actually going to log back into Canvas, this time as a teacher. I'm going to log into one of my courses. We'll go Geography 101. And now you can see that the LTI for StudyMate Campus is available. It looks very similar to the welcome screen that you see for LockDown Browser. And it does walk through that same premise of providing you tutorials and information on how the application works. So basically, there are 3 templates that you're using. They are creating up to 11 different learning activities, self-assessments, and games. The video tutorials.
Oh, hang on. We're not seeing your screen.
Oh, my goodness. Okay, so I'm going to
I
stop.
think, yeah, I had to log back in. I think it broke that.
Yeah.
Start it again. Okay. Are you able to see it at this point?
No, I just see the MK, AD, and AE on the top.
Okay. I'm not sure why that would be. Let's see. I'm going to try stopping it and then sharing it again.
Okay.
Any luck?
No.
Okay. All right. I'm very, very sorry about that. I'm not sure how to fix that, or if it's possible. Is it possible for you to log back out and then log back in with that session invite?
Sure.
Oh, what about camera settings and ours? Public to audio.
Oh, that's for us.
Oh, okay.
Here, I'll just close this out and we'll try it again.
Okay.
Oh, there we go.
Yay!
Okay, cool.
So from within the welcome screen and ran back up, this looks very similar to the LockDown Browser welcome screen. It does provide you with some information on how to enter the terms. You can try some of the samples activities as well. We do actually have an activity that's embedded within the course itself. So once you open up StudyMate, you're going to see an activity called Age of Discovery. So there's something that's already pre-built in there for you to take a look at as well. But the video tutorials, they are topic specific. They will walk you through everything from getting started with the application as to how to use different features like sharing and following within the application. It will walk you through things like how to import copy and how to enter content into the application. And then the mobile app is also available for you here. There's some information here about working with the application in terms of looking at usage statistics and how to organize and share folders as well. The mobile app information can be found here. Super simple to use. And I do want to actually walk you in. And this is kind of interesting. So full disclosure, my kids use this all through high school. My son's actually will be a sophomore in college this year. And I play around inside our Canvas instance. This is what we created for him last year. I think it was spring semester for his criminal law and justice class. So he's still using it. But in terms of different projects, just simply starting with creating a new project. And this can be Wednesday. July 17th. And it can be a webinar project. I can assign it a folder if I want, or leave it alone. There are different style templates that I can work with. I can create the activities so that they're random in nature. And this is just the publisher, so we'll save them. And this is how simple it is to create a project itself. So my next step at this point would be to edit. And there are a couple of different options available to me here. So you can see that the 3 templates are the fact template, the definitions template, and there's also questions template. One thing that's worth noting here is this is creating a URL. So this URL, once it's been created, you can either share the URL, you can copy it, you can paste it, you can put it elsewhere, or you can make this particular project available to the class. So there's some nice flexibility from an instructor perspective. You'll notice here these fact cards. Just even clicking on the sample itself, it's indicating to me that the fact cards create 3 different activities. The definitions will create 6, 7 activities, and multiple choice questions will create two activities. So there are a number of activities. So the whole premise is to enter the content once and to create several different types of activities rather than entering them in 11 different times. If I wanted to simply add a fact, okay, so it looks like Mick and Karen lost their audio. Okay. So what I'll do, Mick, I'm going to end the presentation at this point. I'll just wrap up very quickly. I'm going to send you a copy of the link itself. I'll publish it to my YouTube page, and I will send it along to you. And then if you'd like to revisit this, I'm happy to do that for you. Okay. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate your time today. And I will check in with you. And Mick, I'll actually give you a call a little bit later in the day just to confirm. And we'll talk a little bit about the email that you will receive. Thank you. Bye.